So, it is that time of the year again, where I look over all the changes that I have made to my tech bag over the course of the year. Now, these things usually change through the seasons, and I actually do end up getting new bags almost every couple of months, since I end up seeing some kind of new design that I believe would be best moving forward, but that constantly changes. This bag right here I've had for the last 6 months, and it has been a very reliable one. And I've actually made some changes to my tech bag, to my daily carry, in order to make this a lightweight carry that would still be able to hold all the stuff that I like to travel with. With that said, welcome to another iteration of what's in my tech bag. Let's begin. This video is sponsored by Fifine, the makers of some of the best audio gear on a great budget, like the ones from their C1 models featuring a professional grade lavalier mic and the headset mics bundled together. Links to everything below. The first thing that we should talk about is the bag itself. So this is a bag by Homey that doesn't actually have a particular name. This is actually a pretty cool bag. It has been mistaken by others in the past for being a much pricier bag than it actually is. I spent around $35 on it or so. So it is a pretty affordable bag, and it has lasted me quite a while. You've got the metallic handle right at the top that has been very resistant and has not broken on me. No matter how hard I pull it or how heavy of a load I add to my bag, it's been very reliable. You got very good straps on the back, even though I do wish that they had a little bit more padding. They're a little bit slim for my taste. However, on the back, you're going to get a ton of padding and even an additional pocket where you can house other things. And it does have additional padding to protect whatever it is that you place in there. So now, for this bag, you're going to find around 4 compartments if you do not count the one at the very back. I don't place anything in there myself. So you're going to have the main compartment, which is going to hold the majority of the things, the larger items. You're going to have the compartment in the middle that is mostly for accessories, and then 2 smaller compartments that are all the way at the front. I seldom use these actually. I tend to go just for the 2 larger compartments, but this time around, I was able to place a couple of things that would be useful on one of them, but not every compartment for this episode will be filled. This bag actually has USB pass-through. So you're going to see a USB port right on the side of it, which connects to another USB-A cable that is actually inside of the bag. So that is mostly to create an extension between portable batteries and so that you don't have to leave your stuff charging inside of your bag and that you can still use it if you need it. So that's pretty cool. So now let's talk about what's inside. So let's begin with the only frontal compartments that I ended up filling up this time around. So once we open that up, and here I actually have the smallest gridit that they make, I believe. So this gridit actually holds just a couple of accessories. It helps with keeping some of these things organized. I definitely prefer this gridit, as a matter of fact, for securing cables and things like that, so it has been very useful in that sense. So let's go ahead and set this down so that I can take a better look. So on this gridit, you're going to find a braided USB-C cable, and I use this to charge the majority of my devices, like my smartphone, my game controller, which you're going to see later. I also charge my tablet with it. I just do quite a lot with those. I even charge my earbuds with these. I added a secondary USB-C cable, which is also braided. This is a Razer one. I threw it in there because just why not? It's always good to have a backup. I also have an adapter here that doesn't get a ton of use, but it's still useful when I do eventually decide that I need it. So this is the J5 Create USB hub. It has an Ethernet port and it has access to 3 USB 3.0 ports. I also have this power brick by PowerRad. They sent this one to me a long time ago, and you're also going to have 2 USB-A ports. Actually supports quick charge, so that's pretty good. I always use that port for charging my cell phone, so that is everything for this compartment. Let's move on to the rest. So now in the middle compartment, which is where I store the majority of my accessories, you're going to find things like my point and shoot of choice. And here I have my Panasonic Lumix LX10. This camera is really good. It's a very fun pocket solution that I carry around with me, and because it's so small and easy to carry around, it just stays in my bag for the most part. And if I ever decide that I want to specifically shoot video that could take a while, maybe take some nice photos on the go, I would normally use my phone, but this camera does come in handy often for that sorts of stuff. And for emergencies where I do have to use a camera for long periods of time, don't have to call off my phone because I can just use this guy. This guy can shoot in 4K, 1080p, it can handle a lot, and it even has a flip out screen. I actually made a review of this camera on the channel, so if that is something that interests you, I'll be making sure to leave it linked down in the description. Next, I have a Nintendo Switch controller that also works on PC, and this is the 8BitDo SN30 Pro. So this controller is modeled to look exactly, or almost exactly, like an SNES controller, but I got this just because it's such a portable solution. The joysticks feel good on this guy. It has a USB-C port so I can use it with my phone charger and anything like the sort. Battery life is pretty good, and overall it's just a very easy controller to travel around with, and it's got all the buttons that you would need to use this on different platforms, not just on the Switch. So that's very nice to have. Now next up, I've got a Seagate 4TB hard drive. This hard drive has been a lifesaver. I've actually had this guy for around 2 years, filling it up with files, haven't deleted almost anything, I don't believe, and it's still going strong. I've been able to put a ton of 4K footage, and I always edit off of this hard drive. It's not the fastest hard drive out there, but I'm fine with it. It's great. Mass storage is more important to me personally. Next up, I've got a discontinued battery bank, and this is EZX 10,000 milliamp hour battery bank. So this guy's actually pretty small. They don't make this one anymore, though I will be making sure to leave a link to any of the current ones that are basically equivalent to these. This one's made out of aluminum, which is why I bought it in the first place. It's got a USB 3.0 port, USB 2.0, and micro USB. Not a ton of options for charging, but it has been very reliable over the course of the 4 years that I've had this for, so I'm very happy about it. And I did mention gaming a little bit earlier with my game controller, and that brings me directly into my Nintendo Switch. So this case, I bought it off of Amazon. I don't remember exactly what the name is. I will be making sure to leave everything that was featured in this video linked in the description, so don't worry about that. Inside you're going to find the Nintendo Switch, which I did customize a bit. I changed up the shells around the Joy-Cons because I wanted white Joy-Cons, and I also added a carbon fiber dbrand skin to the back of the Switch. So I think it feels great. I think it's awesome. I'm in love with it. I play this a ton while I'm on the go, usually if I have some downtime, or if I want to do some multiplayer with some friends. This is enough to get that done. So that's pretty cool. I travel with this a lot. As of now, I've been playing games like Pokemon Shield, which is a huge disappointment, Fire Emblem Three Houses, and I have to get back into Astral Chain at some point. But that's it for the Switch. Next up, very simple. It's just my laptop charger. It's the one that came with my laptop. Use it often. What can I say? Next, I've got my mouse of choice. So I actually wanted to get a mouse that was very small, so I went ahead and bought the Razer Orokai. This mouse can be used wired and wirelessly. I tend to use it wired though, just because it's easier to connect. Sometimes the Bluetooth can be a little bit finicky, but battery life is still pretty good anyway if you're wondering for this mouse. This mouse is very tiny, it feels pretty good, and it's very manageable for myself at least since I have smaller hands. It also has chroma lighting around the scroll wheel, which is pretty cool. It has been very efficient. I like it, so it stays in my bag. And so lastly, for this compartment, it's just going to be my business card holder. And this one, I will be making sure to leave linked again in the description. I just hold a bunch of business cards in here in case I come across anybody that happens to be of interest to Tech Summit so that I can hand these off. That's the purpose. Now that we've taken care of the middle compartment, we can go ahead and talk about the main compartment, which houses the most important stuff, the most fun stuff. So let's take a look. Opening this up, in this little zipper here, right over here, just a tiny pouch, and in here there's only one thing, and I carry my Razer Hammerhead Truly Wireless Buds. This pair has been absolutely fantastic. I was very surprised with them. So these are essentially Razer's iteration of AirPods. They fit really well for me, they sound great, have a ton of bass. Battery life is not great, but it's good enough for me, I suppose, so I'm happy with these. If you're into low latency gaming as well, these would be handy. But I don't do a ton of that with these. I prefer to use a headset myself, but these are great for casual listen or stuff of the sort. Next up, for another audio solution, this is actually more for editing on the go. But if I know that I'm going to be going on a much longer trip, like let's say a field trip, or I should say cross-country trip or something like that, I would carry this pair. And this is the TradeLab Z2s. This pair of headphones I featured on the channel before. They have been really good. They have noise canceling. They're super comfortable, very lightweight. They feel premium. It's just a really good pair to travel around with, and it barely takes up any space in my bag, and it has really good battery life as well. So I always like carrying this pair around just in case, and on the go, it's the pair that I sometimes edit with because even though the sound signature isn't really flat, it's not ideal for editing, it definitely has a much wider sound stage than a pair of earbuds would. And because this pair is so portable, it just makes things a lot easier. So there's that. Next up, we've got this guy. You've seen this guy on the channel before, but this is my Samsung Galaxy Tab S3. And I know, I've been hanging on to this guy for quite a while. I actually got this last year during the summer because I needed a solution that I could take with me to school in case I just needed to take notes or anything like that. But this device has been super reliable. Battery life is still pretty okay, even though it definitely has been degrading over time. But this has a fantastic screen, a good size, the keyboard is okay, and it has a stylus, so sometimes I can do some drawings along the way while I'm on the go. So that's always nice to have. It's just a more casual experience when having to do any kind of work. So I do like this. I always carry it around. And so lastly, the most important thing is going to be my laptop. And this is the Razer Blade 14 2015. I bought this laptop a long time ago, as you can see from the name, but it's still going strong. Battery life hasn't gotten any worse. It's always been rather poor, but it's actually good enough for what I have to do. If I'm doing any sort of video work, I always make sure to carry my charger with me anyway. If I'm gaming as well, I always make sure that this guy has an external power source because on its own, the battery life isn't very good. However, in terms of performance, it's still going strong, has a beautiful 3K display that I absolutely love. The speakers are okay, the keyboard is still good, and the trackpad is still one of my favorites in the business. I may be upgrading sometime next year, hopefully, but for the time being, I'm fairly happy with my Razer Blade 2015. I can do video editing, 3D modeling, though a little bit of that, and I can play almost any kind of game I want to throw at it. So I'm very happy with this guy. And so that's going to be everything that I carry with me on a daily basis for my tech bag. This time around, I actually went for a lighter setup than I usually do. The setup is very lightweight. I just like it a lot. It works well for me. And if anything here interests you, I will be making sure to leave everything linked down in the description. All of these links are going to be affiliated, so if you use our links to make a purchase, we do get a small kickback that does help us run things a little more smoothly around here. And if I reviewed any of the stuff here, I will be making sure to leave links, individual links to those videos in the description as well in case you want more details on those products. With that said, this has been Francisco from Tech Summit. Thank you for watching, and I'll be seeing you all later. Enjoy.